What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Society, the channel where the learning doesn't stop when the video ends. Make sure to leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you in an answer. Well, today we have a special one for you all. We're coming to you from my own personal garage. Now, this wasn't my actual garage when I was a weekend warrior many years ago, but this is the actual garage that we're going to be bringing some more episodes to you all to encourage those weekend warriors to get out there and to show you that you can still do it in your home garage. We have a special one for you today. Well, in today's episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually be cleaning out our paint guns. We're going to learn the basics of how to take apart your paint gun, which paint gun cleaning kit to get. I'm going to show you that on Amazon, what we can get at Walmart to help us clean out that paint gun. But let's talk first about why it is important to clean out your paint gun. Well, guys, it's very simple. If you don't have that paint gun clean just the way it came out of the package when you first opened it up, you're already starting yourself at a disadvantage. You cannot be lazy when you are done painting. You must follow the steps that I'm going to show you here in just a bit to ensure that every time you go to spray, that you are going to have the best possible scenario that you can if you follow these steps, which I'm about to show you. But before we do that, we have to go over to Walmart and I gotta pick up some stuff, and then I'm gonna show you on Amazon which actual gun cleaning kit I got, and I think that you should get it too because it's really gonna help you out when getting into actually cleaning the physical gun itself. So let's head on over to Walmart. Let's pick up a couple things that we're gonna need, and let's get back here and get this started. Okay, so we're here at Walmart, and one of the first things we want to get is that lacquer thinner we talked about, and the next thing we're going to get so our paint gun can kind of sit inside and we can clean it out is just like a 2.5 quart, or you can get like a regular mixing quart. It doesn't need to be this big, but since they have this is what we're getting. So let's go ahead and go through the store and get a couple more things. Okay, so you're also going to want to pick up some shop towels, and that's going to help to clean the gun and get all that paint off of it and keep it dry. They're disposable, so we'll throw them away when we're done. You can also use a microfiber towel. If you have one that's kind of dirty, you can keep using it. So that's another option. So we'll pick this up. It's always good to have. The next thing you're going to need is a squirt bottle. You can get it really cheap right here. Only 97 cents. There's two sizes, but I get the bigger one. You only need one of these for 97 cents. So I think that's gonna wrap it up. So let's see if we need anything else, but I think that's pretty much it. Guys, what do you think? Should I keep my Milwaukee's? Just got back from the chemical department and I really picked up something you don't need, but we're gonna use it as the final to just clean up that gun. So we'll see this in future videos, but we're gonna use it to just finish up the cleaning the paint gun. So let's get back home and let's show you how to break apart your paint gun and how to get them super clean. Okay, so we just got back from the store and I got the stuff that we need here. We also have some things that we already had at the house to help us cleaning, and I'll show you that right now. Okay, so the only really things that they didn't have at Walmart, I mean, it's a smaller cup, and the reason why we get it kind of a smaller cup is when you go to soak your paint gun, you don't have to use as much lacquer thinner to build the height of the lacquer thinner, if that makes sense, inside the cup, and you'll be able to cover more of the paint gun surface, whereas if it was a bigger one. The bigger tub's good for generally cleaning out with the brush, and I'll show you that here in a moment. And the only other thing that you will need to get at the store is you need to protect your hands. Get some gloves that are going to be able to withstand lacquer thinner and not, you know, get a little bit shrunk or you know, deteriorate while you're using lacquer thinner, because that's very important, because the skin is the body's biggest organ, and that lacquer thinner will go right into your skin and right into your bloodstream. So that's very, very important. So gloves and the rest of the stuff that we have here on the bench. Now let me show you that paint gun cleaning kit that I got, and we'll get back here and we'll start. All right, guys, so you want to come over to Amazon and type in paint gun cleaning kit, and then these are different types. You don't need all of these over here. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to scroll down, and it's a $10 one, and it comes with all these different types of utensils that you're going to need. And this is what we really need right here, these little rods. And we'll show you what this looks like here in just a minute when we go ahead and open the package. But go ahead and order this one, and it's all you really need. Now, if that hurt you to see me put some lime green paint all over this $700 gun, then I'm sorry. But, you know, over here at Paint Society, we're proving a point that we're going to show you how to clean your gun, and where we can get lacquer thinner, where we can't. Now, your gun should never look anything like this. In all honesty, what you should be doing and what you need to do, listen up, is you need to be breaking down these guns every single time you're painting. At the end of the day, you need to be cleaning these guns. If you're a production painter and you want to run some thinner and kind of take off the air cap and do all that in between jobs, it's okay. But at the end of the day, you need to break them down and clean them. These are your money makers, and you can't treat them in any other way than the way that they deserve. So now here's the package that I just showed you just a few moments ago, and it's in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to open it up, and I'm going to show you why you need to order some of these little tools in order to get in some of these little crannies. Okay, so this is the gun cleaning kit, and I discussed with you earlier that you're going to need it for a certain reason. Now, it has all the essentials of everything that you're going to need. The one essential that you really want is right here. These are the most important little items that sometimes not all gun cleaning kits come with, and some gun cleaning kits come with too much. So right here, it comes with these little serrated rods. Now, these are so important because it comes with this very, very, very tiny one. Now, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but this tiny one is very important because it gets into the little small holes that are in your air cap. And believe me, if these are not cleaned out, your paint is not going to spray properly. So let's go ahead and let's start with the WS400. And we're going to talk about how to clean out both of these guns. Now, one added extra item that you can use is I have a compressor with a little bit of a blow gun right here. And that's going to help you just kind of sort out any loose debris that you might have in your paint gun. So, as I mentioned before, you're going to want to get those gloves on you. Okay, so we're going to start off first with just getting the paint off, okay? And what we want to do is we want to get as much paint off as we can without actually taking it apart, okay? So what we don't want to do ever is get any lacquer in through this air valve right here, okay? If you get any sort of lacquer thinner in there, it's not a good thing. We only want to depress from about here over this amount of the gun in lacquer thinner if you need to, but we really don't want to let the gun sit in lacquer thinner overnight or anything else like that, and we'll talk about that. So first things first, we have our paper towels, and we're not even going to use any sort of brush now. We don't want to kind of take any of the paint that's on the surface and brush it in. We just want to kind of get it off. So go ahead, take that lacquer thinner, and you'll be surprised how easy that it comes off. Now, if you're going to have any sort of real 2K paint or car paint, yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder to take off. So you might have to scrub a little bit or use that microfiber right there, because that's going to be a little bit more rougher on the actual surface itself. Okay, so at this point, we've removed as much as we could from the actual gun, and it's still got a lot of that green paint. And I use that green paint to kind of highlight where the paint is still, to show us where we still have to clean. That was the whole purpose of using a bright color. So now what we're going to do is we're going to break down the gun and show you how to properly clean the gun and get it ready for this next spraying. Okay. So this is the air cap, and in the air cap we have a seal. There's a black seal in there, and the reason why we don't really want these to sit in lacquer thinner is because we don't want that seal to expand. Although they will do pretty well for a very limited amount of time, maybe 20 to 30 minutes. You don't want to go any longer than that. Just in my opinion, you're being lazy if you don't clean out your gun and put it back right away. So that is the air cap, and you can see it has little tiny holes right here, which we'll get to in just a moment. Now the next thing you want to take apart on your gun is you're going to want to take apart and take the needle out. You never want to take the fluid tip off before the needle. If you take the fluid tip off first, that can score the actual needle itself. And we'll discuss when we put this gun back, how do we assemble it. So we want to undo this knob right here. This is our fluid control. We'll put that aside. Okay. You want to depress on the trigger, and that's going to release right here. Now that should come in and out. It shouldn't be too hard to push in and out. That means that on here, if it is, it's a little bit gunked up. Okay, so keep that in mind. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the fluid tip, and for that you're going to have a wrench that comes with your tool gun kit. The solder one actually fits the water one pretty well, so we'll use that right here. One turn. You shouldn't be over tightening these either. Okay, we'll rest that right down here. Okay, the next thing is the PPS 2.0 adapter we're going to take off. You should always be taking these off after every single use. Now, we don't need to break down the gun any more than this right here. In between your normal cleanings, this is all you need to do. We could take it a step further, and we could take off the handle. In this case, I think we're going to need to, because the handle has some overspray and gunk, and what that can do is sometimes if it dries up inside of the gun, it can flake off into your paint. To do that, you're just going to remove this little collar pin right here. You can use like the use of a little screwdriver, and once you do that, it should release the rod, and you should be able to take that handle right off. You don't want to lose that. Okay, so from here, you should be able to push this rod through, grab it on the other side. Okay, so you have the rod right there. That should release the handle, access to all that overspray, access to everything inside of here. Okay, you don't need to remove the air valve down here. The fan doesn't come out, we can work around it. Now, let's soak some parts in thinner that can soak in thinner. So over here, we're gonna use our little container because we can get the parts covered more easily than if we were to use our big tub. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop in our fluid control knob. Then we're gonna pop in our fluid tip. Then we're going to pop in our PPS adapter. And let's put our handle in there. And since we're not going to wait too long, we can put in our air cap. Needs just a little bit more thinner. Then I give it a little twist. So what we're going to do is let this sit for a little bit, and that's going to help activate any paint that's on there and kind of get it a little bit loose, and then that's going to help us when we go to scrub. So let's let this sit over here. In the meantime, let's take a look at our gun cleaning kit. Now we talked about these little serrator rods. We're going to use these later. And let's discuss the other items that are located in the kit. Okay, so we have everything laid out here, and the brush actually kind of broke while shipping, but no big deal. We have another brush too that I like to use as well. I actually kind of like to use this for getting compound out of the inside of the car because it has this little tip right here. So we have our brush, and this is the main one that we're going to use for the exterior, and then you have your interior rods for different dimensions or diameters inside of the actual physical gun itself. And then this is for areas that you can't really stick a rod through, but you kind of push it, and it helps to alleviate and get any loose dirt or paint up, which will show you that as well. So what we're going to do first is we are going to actually work on these first so that we can get them done, and then we can let them air dry off on the side, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the body. Remember, we really don't want to soak the body itself. You really don't want to put the thing in thinner. If you did, you can soak this top part, but you don't want to mess with the valves and everything in here. This is the only main area that should be getting any sort of thinner pass through. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to utilize this other cup now, and we're going to put clean lacquer thinner in there because the rest of the paint thinner or lacquer thinner has green twinge to it, and we don't want that residue to be on any of our working parts. So from this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to take off and work each individual part myself, and I'm going to, it's very important that I'm doing some sort of drying motion, whether it's a paper towel or the air nozzle, to dry it before I let it sit. So very simple with this. Sometimes what can happen with these needles is you want to feel them, you want to make sure they're not rough, because that's not going to allow this needle to pass through the gun the way it needs to. And if it doesn't pass through the gun, when you go to put your hand on the nozzle to move it, it's going to have some sort of resistance. So you'll feel resistance coming from this needle and other parts of the gun if it is not clean. So go ahead, give that a dry. And what we'll do is we'll put this over aside for now in our drying area. The next thing is our air cap, which is very important because the air runs through all these little holes, and you know the manufacturer of this gun or any other gun are designed specifically for these air caps and these little holes to be 100% free of any debris. That way the air can function and atomize properly. And if you're not cleaning out your gun after every use, you're doing yourself a big disservice. So make sure that these little holes here are nice and clear. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is just go ahead and first let's do the exterior of the actual air cap itself. It's got ridges here. We can go ahead to each one of those ridges and just give it a gentle cleaning. And if you keep up with your gun and you clean your gun every time you're done, then the maintenance on your gun is going to be so much easier. Now, we mentioned this little tool earlier, and that's for areas that you can't really get through. Okay, so this is a kind of a stiff brush, and this is going to help get all those little areas, kind of rub it around, lubricate it, and then we'll give it a little dry, and then we'll give it just a little bit of a blow. Okay, and we'll put this aside, but before we do that, let's go ahead and take out that very important little rod here. And you can't even get a pin this small. I mean, these holes are so tiny, but they are so important. Okay, so what you want to do is just kind of get that through, and the serrated spot on the actual rod is going to be what cleans it out. Okay, get that for you guys. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you want to rub that in and out. I do it on both sides. And as you can see, those little tiny holes are all cleaned up. Now you have some holes here that are much bigger. Utilizing your brush is going to help clear those out. And for the most part, they don't get plugged up. If you run a little bit of air through it at a very low pressure, you can just make sure that they're functioning properly. Okay, so we're going to move along a little bit quicker since you guys are kind of getting the idea. This is your PPS adapter. Not everyone will have this depending on what cup system you are using, but this is a good time to utilize one of our spiral brushes. And this will kind of just go through, and we'll go through on either side just to make sure. And then we're going to utilize that brush right here to make sure that those threads are clean, because those threads actually pick up some paint, believe it or not. When something drips into them, your threads are going to be the last thing that catches it. And if you don't take this apart, you're going to start to notice that paint is starting to kind of gum up in the area. And like I said, when that dries up, it's going to eventually flake off like a bad paint job, and it's going to go right into your paint. So This is the first way you can save yourself. Okay, next up we have that handle, very simple, and you'll be surprised how much overspray accumulates over inside of this area. Now you don't want to use anything steel, you want to use that hardcore nylon type of brush that has stiff bristles, but you don't want to use that metal on any of the surfaces. Let the lacquer thinner do its job, it will loosen it up. And now we have our fluid knob. We'll give this a quick little bit of a brushing. Most of the paint has already been removed while it's been just sitting in the lacquer thinner. Now another very important part of the paint gun is the fluid tip, something that needs to be also very free. And for this, we're going to try to find the diameter. You don't want something that's too small. You want something that's slightly bigger. All right, so when you have slightly bigger, what that's going to do is kind of force it in a little bit to clean, give it a few turns. Go ahead with your top. You have all those small little holes that need to be cleaned up. And then this is when you can use those bigger rods. We'll select the correct one, and we can go one by one on each one and make sure it's all cleaned up. For the most part, these really don't get too gummed up. There's not necessarily fluid going through these holes, just the middle one. So we want to make sure that's nice and clean. What we're going to be doing is we're going to attack the actual body of the gun. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to use my brush. I don't really necessarily, like I said, want to dunk this in lacquer thinner. So I'm going to come here and I'm just going to use my brush everywhere to get all the loose areas. I like to use the biggest brush possible first, kind of see what comes off, and then what I'll do is I'll use our smaller accessory brushes to get in the areas that are a little bit harder that you can't reach with this bigger brush. Okay, so we got the majority of the actual paint off of the physical gun, and man, it's looking like my baby already. You gotta take care of your investment, guys. That's all I can say. You buy one good gun that get you to what you need to do every day. I don't really recommend cheap guns. It's just not worth it, in my opinion, but I'll be more than happy to assist you with that in future videos. But don't expect to get one gun and be done. You know, sometimes if you get a cheaper gun, they just don't hold up to the chemicals that are going through them, and they just deteriorate. Been there, done it. It's not worth it, trust me. So what we're going to do is now is you can utilize this brush right here. That's that rod spiral brush. We can get in all those areas, kind of like when you go to the dentist and the dentist says, man, you're not brushing far enough. You know, you're not getting into all these areas, and you just need the right tool to do so and spend a little bit of time. And man, you're going to have a nice clean gun, and it's going to be clean on the interior as well, which matters just as much as the outside. So we'll go around to all of our areas, and now is a good time to use these small spiral rods. Now the reason why we're going to use these is because the interior has a small hole that goes through it, okay? And we want to use that, and we always want to dunk it with some lacquer thinner first. We'll go through. We'll give it, see how it's connecting all the way through? Okay? All the way through. We want to make sure that we are loosening any paint. And then this is a good time to use our little bottle we got from Walmart. And now we're kind of just going to flush all of our scrubbings, if you will, out of the paint gun. And this is a good time to lubricate it. Okay? And then go back with our little detail brush and clean, okay? Lubricate and clean. There's no reason why your gun should look like they've been used after you've painted. They should be 100% clean. You need to take these steps in order to do so, okay? And the last thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and get that serrated rod once more. And in this area of the paint gun, sometimes paint can get gummed up. Okay, right here at this nut right here. So we can take that, and we're just going to kind of go around. Okay, I don't think you're going to be able to reach from the back of the fluid, but you can get as much as you can. So we are back now for the reassembly, and I'm going to take my gloves off just to kind of be able to handle the paint gun a little bit better. Now it's so important when you reassemble that you reassemble properly, because if you don't, you can damage some components, okay? If it's not going in the way it should, then there's probably something wrong. So this is the way our gun looks before reassembly. And what we want to do is we want to make sure the air valve is always down. Sometimes between cleaning we kind of mess some things up. So we want the air valve all the way open, okay? The next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to put that handle back on. So we're going to take the handle just in a reverse motion. Doesn't necessarily matter what side the collar is on. We'll just push it through. Good so far. It should be perfect just like this, okay? So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to put that fluid tip in first. You need to put this in first before you put in the needle, because if you don't, if you do it the reverse, let's say you were to put the needle in first, okay, and then you put the fluid tip on, you can end up scoring the actual needle itself, and if it's not 100% the way it was from the factory, it will not spray properly. This is a very important tip. So put that fluid tip in first, and you don't over tighten this, okay? Just give it a little bit of a pop, that's it. I leave it alone, okay? Now when this fluid needle goes in, it should just go in very easily. If I have to push, that it's not good. It should come in and out, in and out. That's all it should do. Very simple. You're gonna put in your spring. In this case, this spring can be installed either way. You're gonna put your knob back on, and now we're gonna set our gun up for next time. I hold down my trigger, and wide open is when I feel resistance and cannot turn this anymore. So now it's wide open, and I'm just gonna go one turn in from wide open. That's how I'm gonna leave it set up. My air cap is nice and clean. I'm gonna make sure I line it up with the letters on top or the bottom, depending on the brand. Okay. And our last thing is our PPS adapter. Okay. So we've effectively taken a very dirty gun and we've returned it back to its original glory. It is ready to spray. Now, what if we don't have a WS400? Well, I chose a WS400 because most guns are very similar, but we're going to go ahead with this gun. Now, this gun, I've had this gun since I was approximately 18. I'm 33, so you do the math, okay? I've had it for a very, very long time, and it's been cleaned out, and it's been rebuilt a couple times, but it is an amazing gun, and I love taking care of it. So we're not going to go through the full cleaning with this. I'm going to do a basic, show you what to do with this gun and how to clean it. That way you guys can get an idea of how 2 or 3 guns actually are working and how they are installed. So same thing with your air cap. Now you have those little holes on there, which are very important. You want to make sure that you clean those out. Then you want to, once again, take that fluid control needle out. Now for this, don't waste, guys. It's fine. We can use the same lacquer thinner. All right, it's not a big deal. All right, we don't want to use the dark one. We use the lighter one that we use for the brush. From here, depress, okay? Pull out. Comes easy, okay? Next, you're gonna have a different wrench here. That's it. Now we take our fluid tip out. Now this one's a little bit different. The Vilbis are a little bit different. They're gonna have this spacer kind of nut, whatever you want to call it, and that needs to be cleaned too because this gets gummed up. Now this is very important right here. You don't want to soak this rubber gasket in thinner. Just run it over with the actual brush itself, and that will do the job. If you soak this in thinner, it's going to expand. It's not going to fit back into the paint gun. Okay, so put that to the side. Same thing here. We have our PPS adapter that we use on all of our guns, and if you want to take that off, you can. If not, remember, we can still gain access to the inside of those areas for a general brief cleaning with our spiral rods, okay? Same thing here. Now, you'll notice in here it's set up a little bit different. It kind of goes in a little bit. So we want to bring back that same brush we used before. This is what that brush is meant for, to get into those areas, okay? And guys, these gun kits are so cheap. Get yourself a couple while you're at it. Take care of your investment, okay? Make sure that you're using that lacquer thinner to kind of clean it out. And then you go ahead and give it a general cleaning before or after. It doesn't really matter. You can see that this gun has had a lot of wear. It's actually a little bit lighter in the area where the hand goes. So we'll leave this to clean out, and I'll go ahead and reassemble that off camera. And the last thing we're going to want to do, and it's totally not needed, but it's just an extra step. You get your microfiber towels, and you could use this as your cleaning rag because it's going to be a little bit rougher. And go ahead, grab one of these. And the reason why I like spray weight glass cleaner is because, guys, we're going to see this in future videos. This is your #1 water-based cleaner that's going to remove contaminants from your hands. It's really going to help out with fish eyes. So go ahead and kind of give that a cleaning. It's not going to have any sort of silicone or anything in it that's going to give you fish eyes. And just give it a good wipe down, and you're going to put it right back on your shelf. We're going to get our RTI diaphragm regulator, put that back up onto the gun. Okay, like that. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and give this a little bit of a turn. Okay, and we have effectively brought back this beautiful gun to its former glory before it got the lime green paint job. So that is how you take apart and clean your gun. Alright guys, that's going to conclude today's video. I really hope the tips that we use today can help you guys get even nicer, cleaner finishes because you got a cleaner gun. So guys, if you're enjoying the Paint Society, please share. Don't be greedy. Let's grow this community together. Hey, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it. It's just paint. We'll see you guys on the next one. Right? Say bye. Say bye. Say bye. We'll see you guys later.